psychology is a discipline that varies in its theories and practices based on the culture. Each generation has a significant psychologist that contributes to the field. In Argentina, this person is Enrique Pichon-Riviere, who was a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst. His legacy continued after his death that many social, developmental, and clinical psychologists have learned and applied his theories. Amongst all these theories, the attachment theory that studies about person-environment interactions is widely recognized. Before we talk extensively about this theory, it is important to look at his early life experience, career, and the environment he lived in that time. Enrique Pichon-Riviere was born in Geneva, Switzerland in 1907, the youngest child of a French family. He was born after his father's second marriage. Since his birth, Enrique Pichon-Riviere had to live with 5 siblings who were from his father's first marriage. Living under a big family with complicated relationships, Enrique Pichon-Riviere was confused about his identity and his connection with his parents and siblings. At the age of 4, because of his father's job, Enrique Pichon-Riviere moved to northern Argentina. He spent his childhood and teenage years in Chaco province and Corrientes province. These constant moves had made Enrique Pichon-Riviere to believe that people are not always the same. They constantly adapt to new situations and modify their perceptions of the reality. Not only his family dynamics and migration had impacted his personal growth, but his early cultural experiences have also shaped his beliefs that we could see later in his clinical practices. As of French-Swiss descent, Pichon-Riviere grew up speaking French while maintaining French traditions and values. At the same time, living in northern Argentina gave him an opportunity to interact with the Guarani community. He learned different languages and culture that are entirely different from the European side of him. Because of these interactions with the Guarani community, he was against segregation. He carried this idea later into his clinical practices that he tried to integrate all the patients into the society along the treatment. Pichon-Riviere's family and cultural experiences have made him feel conflicted and confused throughout his growth, as he had to navigate himself based on different scenarios, such as at home, in school, and in the neighborhood. These experiences have affected his health. He expressed that, "I felt sadness as something present, fixed, and hurting all the time without knowing the root of this problem. Since then, I have not done anything but analyzing my own mystery." To learn more about his health problems and find solutions, he decided to study medicine in the city of Rosario, Santa Fe province. Then he transferred to the University of Buenos Aires School of Medicine in 1926. After he graduated from the medical school, Enrique Pichon-Riviere started his career practice as Pichon-Riviere got his first job in Asilo de Torres, where he worked with mentally handicapped infants and analyzed children's psychopathological behaviors. In 1936, he worked in an orphanage named Hospicio de las Mercedes, where he worked there for 15 years in total. Pichon-Riviere put patients in different groups, where they discussed and shared their problems. During this process, Pichon-Riviere kept hearing specific life events of his patients that were related to these problems. Then he could give treatment plans to them. However, he realized that treating these patients with medical analyses was not helpful. Those problems were mental instead of physical. Moreover, he believed that it would be more important to guide patients to integrate into the society and feel worthy about themselves instead of being excluded from the society. In 1938, he participated in the Sunday group. This group later became the Argentine Psychoanalytical Association in 1942, which is short for APA, that Pichon-Riviere was one of the founding members. With his work experiences, Pichon-Riviere formalized and conceptualized clinical practices and wrote APA magazine issues. Besides being active in APA, he founded other institutions and contributed to social psychology studies, such as the Argentine Institute of Social Studies in 1955. He also established the first private school of social psychology in 1967. After looking at his career development, we could see that he started as a medical student, then a psychiatrist, later a social psychologist with psychoanalytical basis. His works in psychology were a product of his time. Throughout 20th century, Argentina was undergoing modernization and social transformations. During this process, many urban problems such as poverty, marginalizations caused by several economic crises were common. At the same time, immigrants from Italy, Spain, Germany, France were increasing because of the wars happening on the other side of the continent. Many immigrant families after arrival had to live in congregated space. As a result of these transformations, individuals' mental health had become a huge problem. The national government realized the severity of mental health problems in the general population and created the word mental hygiene to improve individuals' well-being as a part of the national agenda while integrating immigrants to the society better. In the 1950s, the National Institute of Mental Health was established to better study the relationship between the society and individuals. Psychology, linguistics, anthropology, and sociology became major social science disciplines that were widely studied in Argentina. At the same time, major hospitals started to include psychotherapy in their services and treatments. Even though many schools of psychology were present in Argentina, psychoanalysis has been the most influential school until today. The general Argentine public chose to use psychoanalysis to understand themselves better so that they could have a stronger locus of control of their destiny. Despite the modern society keeps evolving at a fast pace, psychoanalysis has proven to be more effective than coming up with rapid solutions, such as taking medications to eliminate anxiety. Enrique Pichon-Riviere, who lived in that era, had done significant amount of works and contributing to the public health system. We could see that he developed his theory of attachment under an evolving society in Argentina. Before we look into the theory Psychology is never an independent discipline. It needs interactions and learning between psychologists. Enrique Pichon-Riviere is a good example in that he learned from various psychologists in the early 20th century and formed his own theories that could be used in psychotherapy and social psychology research. The attachment theory demonstrated the interpersonal interactions and the role of environment impacting individuals. His dynamic model also shows how his early experience have shaped his beliefs. Enrique Pichon-Riviere is a key person in the development of psychology during the 20th century Argentina. He contributed to the foundation of APA, formalized clinical practices with guidelines and a paradigm. The theory of attachment is still important in 21st century Argentina, as it is commonly applied in clinical settings where counselors start the first psychotherapy session with their clients by learning about their general profile, which asks about their current situation, their relationship with others before addressing their problems. Thanks everyone very much for spending time to watch this video. If you have any questions, please type in the comment.